I always had good grades in high school, was home on time, cleaned the house, etc. I never had problems with my parents before this. I went to med school, still living with parents when I was 20, I dated someone who was 23. Dad was against this because he does not believe in dating people far older than you, so like don't date far from your own age, and says I cannot date Jay. Argument breaks out. Dad says it's his house, so either I agree or I move out. I say it's not fair as Jay has a job, goes to college, has future plans, etc. Dad kicks me out. Mom agrees with his decision. Little bro was only 14 at the time. I moved with Jay, his family was supportive, helped me with my college. I went to another college due to financial reasons, finished my required years but still kept in touch with my lil bro. Years later, me and Jay, with the help of his parents, got a small house. Like really small, but I'm happy with it. I ended up giving birth to a sweet baby girl. I let my lil bro know that he could come see her when he was able to. He came a few times. Today, bro came to see the baby, and asked when I was going to let mom and dad see her since they wanted to reconnect. I said never and that I wasn't going to forgive them. Bro says I'm being unreasonable as they were just strict and trying to protect me. I say that's bullcrap because dad shouldn't have kicked me out over age. Bro says I should at least let mom come because she didn't want to agree with it. I say mom was able to do something but didn't, but that bro's situation was different because he was only 15. Bro is upset because he says mom and dad regret their decision and just want to reconnect and that I am dragging this entire situation. I told him that if he thinks I'm dragging it out then he can stay out of my life too. He's angry and says that I need to move on and that I shouldn't be withholding them from seeing their grandchild. I say that they disown me and so have no grandchild from a daughter that doesn't exist. Am I the idiot? I don't hate my bro and I, kinda, get what he is saying, but I just have a resentment for my parents. It's not like I had a baby just to put it against them, but my lil bro thinks I'm going to go die on a hill with them for something done several years ago and it's petty. I'm curious about what you think. I want a relationship with my bro, just not my mom and dad. Not the idiot. If your parents want to reconcile they can reach out themselves, rather than sending a messenger. They owe you a massive apology. You're not the one that's dying on this hill, they're the ones that haven't made amends for their actions. They made a huge, life-altering mistake, and just because they regret it now doesn't mean they don't have to take responsibility for it. Not the idiot they kicked you out for dating a guy 3 years older than you, which IMO is absurd. It sounds more like they wanted to control you and when they couldn't they kicked you to the curb. Since then it doesn't sound like they have reached out and tried to make amends at all. Instead your brother is giving you a guilt trip about it. What have they done that suggests they deserve a second chance? Everyone's the idiot here. Except your bro. And I'm going with you're the a-hole mostly for telling your brother that he can leave your life too. He's just trying to get his family to get along again. He's trying to be a diplomat in a standoff. You don't need to forgive your parents or anything, over a 3-year age gap. But you should apologize to your brother. While I, 28, was looking for a job, my brother, 30, offered to help and I moved in with him. I was so grateful. I cleaned the house, prepared our meals, did everything around the house. My BF, 29, felt responsible for me and brought bags of groceries every day to compensate what I ate. After a month, I threw away a trash bin swarming with worms. I replaced it with the exact same thing. My brother told me I had no right and kicked me out. I moved in with my BF. The next day my mother called. I never tell her anything. She said it is your fault. It is his house. You don't have right to his stuff. He is your brother, you gotta obey him. Not long after, I found an amazing job and house. BF and I moved in together. I wanted to help my brother and told him that he could live with us for a couple of months, save money and move into a better place. I told him not to worry about the rent and other utilities, because we are family. He did nothing around the house. I bought a TV my brother became obsessed with. He would watch TV all day every day. One day I told my brother dinner was ready. He turned the TV on and left the room. I was laying the table, I opened a news channel. He came back and complained, switched the channel back. I told him we should watch something that we can all enjoy. He insisted that he came first, we were gonna watch what he wanted to watch. I told him to switch back. He did not. I told him to give me the remote control and he did not. After demanding the remote control the 10th time, he threw it on the floor. I told him he cannot throw stuff in my house because it did not belong to him. I told him he was not doing anything in the house to help, but at least let us rest and enjoy our day while we can. For the context, my BF and I both study for our postgraduates, have jobs and work in the house. He screamed and cursed. Next day my mother called and asked what happened and I refused to answer. She then told me it was my fault and told me to be polite to him because he was a guest. He was my brother and I gotta obey him. 2 weeks ago I broke my ankle. Last Friday I was working on my assignments with this excruciating pain in my ankle. My mother called and I refused to make a comment on the fight. She then started to cry saying brother had to order takeout. We did not have food. I then realized I was so busy working and trying to make it to the deadline that I forgot to eat. It was not important, of course. My brother had to order takeout. Unthinkable. Today my brother said, as your brother I came and I'm apologizing for cursing at you. I know I am right in the fight, so I expect you to apologize. I told him I did nothing wrong and was not going to apologize. He told me I was sick in the head. He was saying things as if my mother was talking. He told me I had narcissistic personality disorder. He was done and I was dead to him. My BF told me my brother suffers from favoritism. Am I the idiot if I want to cut contact with them and kick him out of my house? Not the idiot, kick him out. You don't need to obey him, he is freeloading on your hospitality and behaving poorly towards you. He's no longer a guest but a heavy burden. What guest throws a remote control in temper? Your mother is doing him no favors by spoiling him and always taking his side. Kick him out first and be ready to tell your mother to take a hike when she calls crying that you disobeyed and disrespected him. Respect is earned. You are not dependent on your brother, so you have no reason to obey him. He told you that you have narcissistic personality disorder? Honestly, that sounds more like your mom and your brother is her golden child. Sadly, I see this a lot in my narcissistic abuse survivor support group. Parents favoring one child over the other and gaslighting the cast-out child, and the golden child taking on those same narcissistic traits. I'd kick his duff out and go as little contact as you could with the both of them, because if it's indeed NPD, then neither relationship is going to get better. Just be prepared, because if you do kick your brother out, then hell will open up and you'll be subjected to wrath for having dared disrespect the golden child that way. I went through something similar, but with my dad and stepbrother. Update. After reading your comments and discussing them with my BF, I decided to call my mother and explain what really happened. So, I called, tried to tell the story from my perspective. I started off by saying, I am not her and her worldviews do not necessarily reflect mine. She interrupted me 100 times as she does. She did not even try to see things from my side. As we all guessed, she sided with my brother. It was an 1-hour call, so I might skip certain things, but I remember her blaming me for leaving food in the refrigerator for my brother. Apparently, paying the bills, cleaning, doing the laundry and cooking are not enough. I also have to call him to the table and make sure he does eat. Her exact words were, "You are treating him as if he is a stray dog." I will let this sink in for you guys. Surprisingly, she did not know my brother does not pay for anything. It is very convenient my brother forgot to tell her this. She denied always siding with him. I told her to give me one example when she sided with me. She could not. Well, of course. At the end of our call, I told her I am used to not having a mother in my life, but if she truly loves my brother she should stop spoiling him. He never had a GF, does not have friends and is the most selfish person I have ever seen. He expects everything to be served on a silver platter. She was shocked as if she never realized that my brother doesn't have anyone beside us. I told her to think about what I told her and call me back in 2 hours if she agrees with me. She did call to my surprise and told me that I am a very compassionate and a good-hearted girl. This could be the very first time she ever said something nice about me. I thanked her and asked for a favor, but she will have to accept beforehand. She agreed and I told her to stay out of our arguments with my brother. He always thinks he is in the right because she sides with him unconditionally. It is always 2 versus 1 against me. We will see if she keeps her promise. Later that night I walked in my brother's room and told him I was hurt, not because he threw the TV remote or not following my rules, but because I don't deserve to be called names in my own house at the age of 28. He apologized for swearing and screaming and agreed not to do that anymore. I told him I am not the sole decision maker in our house and I have to respect my BF's wishes as well. Since he has been a burden for us emotionally, financially and physically, we both appreciate if he could find his own place as soon as possible. I told him even though he kicked me out, I will never do that to him. BF told him he can stay with us until he finds his own place. He is still with us. He tries to help around the house. Yesterday he asked if he could watch TV. BF knows he is a keeper now. Thank you all for your kind words. Sounds like you are working hard to make things work out with your brother and mom. I would say you need to nail down an exact date, write it on a document, and make him sign it. Otherwise, he just won't find another place, ever. You also will need that signature if it comes to evicting him. Depending on local laws, you may have created a tenant situation and have to go through the process to get him out. It is good that you stood up for yourself. I would be asking him weekly what progress he is making in finding a place. And if he does not have specific progress in a few weeks, give him a deadline of 30 or 60 days. If you keep enabling him, he will never grow up and he will just mooch off of you. Hey OP, good on you for giving your brother a second chance. I know a lot of people here are attacking that decision, but I think you made the correct one. When it comes to family, it's not an us versus them, it's an us versus the problem. From the way you ended the post, it looks like he's getting better and becoming more aware of his actions. Hopefully soon enough with your help he'll be able to find a job and be in a better place in life. He's lucky to have a sister like you. My brother and future Sil had planned on getting married by the end of June, but COVID happened. Long before that, he had requested from me, as a wedding gift, to sew the wedding dress of my Sil. I am by no means a professional, but I can do simple stuff rather nicely. I already sew stuff for my family and friends as gifts regularly, little outfits for the kids or cosplays, easy stuff that can be worn even if there are a few defects on it. They had planned on a no-frill wedding with close family and friends only, and my Sil had her eyes on a flowing, layered Grecian tunic-style dress, rather easy to do and not too expensive as far as materials needed, so I agreed. But with the lockdown, well, things got complicated. Lockdown started here on March, so we were unable to get the fittings down, e.g., and pretty soon they realized the wedding would have to be postponed. My Sil lost it. Really? Crying and screaming and everything. Nothing we could do or say could calm her down, until my brother asked her what she wanted to do instead, and she said she wanted now a big wedding as a compensation. I mean, well, okay, I get her frustration, I really do. But the main reason they were having a small wedding was to save on some bucks to renovate the house and such. But that's none of my business, I know. My brother relented and they are now planning a big thing for 2021. Sil sent me her new requirements. She wants a full skirt, silk, bodiced, lined, embroidered, trained, the whole princess gig, dress. That, of course, I would still pay for in full for the materials. I told her I didn't feel I could do it. That it was too complicated for my skills. She went ballistic. Said I was lying, that I had done complicated things before, and that it was just nothing more than a couple more stitches. I have been trying to explain to my brother, because she doesn't want to speak to me anymore, as I am conspiring to ruin her wedding, that I do not feel able to do it. His solution is that I buy the wedding dress she wants, or I wouldn't be invited to the wedding. So I said okay. I said I wouldn't go, because I couldn't do what they asked me. I can't sew that dress, and I certainly cannot pay for what she wants. I'm now the heartless big sis who doesn't approve of her lil bro wedding/wife, and honestly I just want to tell them all to go stitch their two big mouths closed. Update, I am really touched by the support and many great advices I received. Many of you here or on PM gave me ideas and leads on how to deal with this the best way available, as well as pointing out things I hadn't even considered. On Saturday I see my parents. I will explain to them that as much as I appreciate their faith in my capacities, I am not up to the task, and while their support is amazing, at this moment and on that subject, it's misguided. I will do an itemized list of the costs of the first dress, the one I agreed to make, a quote from a professional seamstress of my town for the new dress my Sil want, and a few picked up example of the prices of off-the-rack dresses and show it to them to demonstrate my point. Many of you also pointed out that while my Sil is planning on splurging, the question of who is going to shoulder the extra cost hasn't been raised. I want to touch that point with them too. Also raise the point that it's all nice and well to faire des plans sur la comète. I think in English it can be translated as wishing upon the moon. For a 2021 wedding, it's not even guaranteed. Yes, having her wedding ruined is hard and crappy and effed up, and to all of you here going through this, I really hope the postponement will only bring you even better things. But, it doesn't allow her to act like this, and I will not go to that wedding unless big apologies are made. Last but not least, I had no idea there were that many fabric artists, may you all be sewists, embroideresses, stylists, and such. And I had no idea this community would be so supportive, and I also learned a lot, so, again, thank you all. I will update next week when I have seen my parents. Not the idiot. This is what happens when people feel entitled enough to other people's time and money. I feel for you. If anything, you're doing her a favor by not agreeing to the complicated dress, because, if it went wrong, she'd still be unhappy. If anyone expected me to pay for their over-the-top wedding dress, I'd have laughed my way out of the door and told them to have a nice life, because if they're happy enough to spend your money on this, they'll be happy enough to expect the same in the future. Absolutely not the idiot. I have been sewing for over 40 years, and I know that what she is demanding is beyond my skills. She now wants embroidery and beadwork? That's a completely different skill and would probably take more time than making the original dress entirely. You agreed to do something based on what you were able to do. The fact that she changed what she wanted isn't your fault, and she still expects you to buy the materials. Your Sil and brother are not only idiot, but they're bullies as well. They're the ones who changed the deal, not you. Sil is an entitled brat and your brother is an enabling jerk. Tell them they can bully whomever they've roped into finding the test of their circus into buying the dress. And, I'd suggest distancing yourself from such leeches. Go make yourself something pretty. Not the idiot. If they can't see that it's beyond your skill. Sew a sample of your embroidery skills, for example of some scrap material to show. And say, this is my skill at doing that embroidery, see how bad it is, this is why I can't do your new wedding dress idea. Even if you took the embroidery out, the other elements are like this where I just don't have the skill set. I say this because she's understandably stressed about having to move the wedding, etc. And she unfortunately took that out on you, unless this is normal behavior for her.